For those of you that know me, you guys all know that I am a video game collector, and I actually started my collecting career, I guess you can say, back in the year 2020. I originally first started off collecting for the Nintendo Switch just because I actually really loved the system and was kind of at that point considering it to be my favorite console of all time. Weirdly enough, I just really loved the support and just all the games that there was on the system. For those of you that don't know, I actually grew up more so with the Nintendo GameCube. I am, of course, not really a 2000s baby, but I was born in the year 1998, so I guess in that case, I guess you can just call me a 2000s baby, I guess, somewhat. But I grew up with the Nintendo GameCube playing a lot of games like Mario Party 4, Mario Kart Double Dash, Super Smash Bros. Melee, the Legend of Zelda games that were on there. A lot of different types of games on the system that I grew up playing. And then later on, it actually went ahead and it evolved into me collecting for the Nintendo Wii, the Wii U, the 3DS, DS, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, and just so many different types of systems and consoles Nintendo wise, just because again I was a Nintendo baby basically. I just started collecting a lot of things, anything Nintendo. It's crazy to me because again I call myself a Nintendo fanboy, but this console is regarded to be one of the very best systems of all time, yet I have yet to even start getting games for it. I still to this day still do not even own the system yet. I actually bought a kind of a third-party system to allow me to play these games that I purchased. That system, ladies and gentlemen, is the Super Nintendo. A couple weeks back with my cousin to some pawn shops in our nearest town, and I was able to go ahead and find a really cheap copy of Super Mario World. And so because of me purchasing this, I went ahead and said, F it, if I'm going to be buying a Super Nintendo game, I might as well buy the system too for me to go ahead and play said game. All these Super Nintendo games that we found that were in those pawn shops and stuff, they just weren't really in that great of a condition, and they were also a bit too pricey for my liking, that I just didn't really decide to actually purchase a system. In fact, when it comes to me purchasing a system in the future, I actually am kind of hoping to buy a Super Nintendo Junior. Just something about that Super Nintendo Junior design to me, I don't know, I just like how it looks, weirdly enough. But I do of course want to own potentially both versions of the systems in the future, but for my first choice I think I might go for the Super Nintendo Junior just because I think it'd be cool. But yeah, I went ahead and I purchased that game, and so because of that I went another pawn shop and they actually had this. They had this available, and I just went ahead and said, F it, I might as well buy it in order for me to play my new Super Nintendo game that I purchased, and that is the Superboy. So I went ahead and purchased the Superboy, and even if I own or started collecting for my Super Nintendo, I always knew that I actually always wanted this thing just because I think it'll be a great item, especially if you're collecting for Super Nintendo games, because you can just take this device with you, and if you're meeting up with somebody or going to some form of convention and stuff, you're able to just go ahead and just test out the games right then and there on the spot, you know, take a look at them, make sure that they're working, make sure that this game is saving the batteries inside of them, and all, you know, yada yada. For those of you that are collectors, you guys basically understand or know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I went ahead and I purchased the Superboy with that. So with the system, they didn't really have much Super Nintendo games, but I went ahead and I purchased Breath of Fire, which is a really fun RPG. I have never played this game, but I've always heard really great things about it. Yeah, it's actually a really fun game. I've already put in like about 5 to 10 hours already into this game, and I have been really loving it and enjoying it. I finally got home from that trip. I went ahead and did 2 more game orders online for me that I really wanted to get, and these were games that I already knew that I really wanted: Super Mario All-Stars and The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. Which, I mean, of course, if you're buying a Super Nintendo, you for sure need to buy The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. So there's not really many complaints that I have about the Superboy. The only thing that I can really think of that I do really am a little bit iffy about even still are 2 things: the shoulder buttons and the D-pad itself. I'll be showing the footage right there in front of you guys, but as you guys can see, when I push the L and R button at the very top, there's actually no register of the me pushing down the buttons, which is so weird because when you're actually resting your hands and you're up there, you're actually pushing down, or like your fingers are just right up there comfortably, you know, relaxing up there, that it makes more sense for the actual button input to be right up there. But instead, you now kind of have to make this little bit of a cloth kind of form in order for you to click the lower buttons to actually register that button input, which is kind of like the main negative thing that I will say that I do have for this. But when it comes with the D-pad, it's a little bit of a different story. I love and hate this D-pad both at the same time. I do love the fact that I'm able to roll my finger on it, and it's pretty easy. So like if you're playing games like Street Fighter, but just kind of testing it out and rolling on it, and just even testing it with some games, I can tell that it does register pretty fine sometimes. Like it's not that big of a deal. But just the way how the button push, it just feels like you gotta put a bit of pressure in it in order for it to be fully registered. Kind of just feels really mushy. The other complaint that I do have real quick as well, it's not really a big complaint, it's more so a nitpick, because I do love playing this game or the Superboy, especially when I'm laying down in bed, and sometimes I have my girlfriend right there with me who is asleep, and I would love to play this later on in the night, but sometimes playing this thing can be pretty loud, and by that I mean the face buttons are really loud when you actually start pushing at them. Here's a video of me actually pushing the face buttons down, pretty much trying to make sure that it's as quiet as it possibly can. And again, you guys let me know because it's really loud. But other than that, that is basically it. That is pretty much all of the negatives that I do have to say about the Superboy. Everything else, the audio, being able to connect this still to your TV and play games on it is great. I still prefer to actually keep it in this form factor where I'm playing in handheld mode, which I mean makes sense. I bought this to play this in handheld mode, not really to connect this to a TV. So I'm likely not really going to connect this device to the TV until I actually finally get me a Super Nintendo. But just having the fact that I have a portable Super Nintendo with me that can play my official Super Nintendo games, it's just amazing. But yeah, that is basically it that I wanted to say. I just wanted to let you guys know, like I mentioned, kind of in the same vein as like my NES Challenger set that I purchased, giving you guys an update of how my collecting kind of journey has been going. And yeah, basically I started collecting now for Super Nintendo games, but I do want to purchase more games such as Secret of Mana, Chrono Trigger, Super Metroid, and just a bunch of other type of games that I do want to get. The main big game that I for sure hope to get one day would be Earthbound, but that game is just so expensive. I currently, in the making of this video, it goes over $300, so who knows if I'll even ever get the chance to even purchase that game. But that is basically going to be it. That's going to be the end of my yapping session. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you guys did, please leave a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.